So let's see what changes, because it was that kind of tanky front line for G2 that also enabled them to push so deep into the jungle and set up those vision plays.
Misfits instant priority taking away that Syndra. They want to turn their attention from top lane bans perhaps over towards the mid lane, get rid of some of the comfortable matchups. Remember in the last game we had Camille, Shen, Rumble, Kennen all banned away, and G2 had focused out the Malzahar, focused out the Lulu. Big difference in the draft now for the Misfits.
All right, Syndra, Elise, Rumble removed from the pool. Graves is still up there. Lucian for KaKAO. You touched on how good he's played that champion 7 times this split. A 12 KDA. Now that sounds great. What does that actually equate to? 31 kills and 65 assists, which is a phenomenal amount when you think about it. Camille is now taken away, and Expect doesn't believe his eyes. Looking, pointing at the screen, trying to see what goes next. No surprises yet for the Shen. Okay, first pick options. I guess Nautilus could come in.
I want to see Malzahar first pick for IgNar.
Oh, yeah.
Get that Malzahar. Start flashing on people, ulting people. It's gone. No Malzahar this game. So, KaKAO, I don't think he's going to take Lucian this early. Nautilus, if they want a tank matchup for Alphari, would be an option. You can see the Rumble's already taken away from it. The Renekton is there, but would be playing the flip side of the previous matchup, which I think Misfits at least would be comfortable with.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would work out. Misfits have been comfortable in a number of champions, and with all things considered, Nautilus locked in for Alphari. Expect with a near instantaneous Renekton.
Renekton Thresh, oh no.
You know, I can show you how this is meant to be played. Maybe, but instead, may look to another option. Expect has played carries in the top lane as well. Lulu was actually banned out in the previous game. I'm
getting excited. Are they going to show us the Lulu cog? I mean, they're so far ahead in the split that they can afford to do that. They could afford to play different compositions. Honestly, Lulu is just a good support right now. A lot of the supports that have been good into Lulu previously either end up getting banned away or just have been taken out of the pool. KaKAO still deciding on his jungle, going between a lot of picks. A lot of these aren't actually going to be the intended pickup.
You mentioned the cog more. What other ADC would Zven combo with it?
Kalista's nice with Lulu as well. Honestly, there are so many that you can play with Lulu. She's a very versatile support champion. Lulu into Zyra into Lulu is typically at least a matchup that can punish Lulu if they overshove. You can catch her out, deal a lot of damage. We don't get the Lee Sin.
No Lee Sin today. Graves again for KaKAO. Maybe feeling it was the style of play, not the pick, that came into impact. Alphari stolen away, expects Nautilus. So Gragas is something we've seen into that Nautilus a lot, and we will see Kalista. It is 7.5, reminder. Changes to Exhaust, and Zven very, very excited to see him on this champion.
This is a champion that Zven made his name on last year on Origin, initially when they came in, or at least when Origin entered. I mean, Kalista is a champion that is a difficult one to play because of how the mechanics on the hop works and also being fairly short range, but does provide a lot of damage that, and now Kalista is coming back. There's been buffs to Blade of the Ruined King. A lot of the other AD carries have been nerfed. You now have an extra sense of crowd control coming out from your AD carry as well. So I'm liking this draft so far. G2 showing us something a little different on 7.5.
Yeah, working out in favor at least game 1. Let's see if it can work again in game number 2. In terms of bans, Hans Summer's champion pool has been targeted. Ashe and Caitlyn taken off the table. We just saw a brief teaser of the Hans Summer Drive episode. I highly recommend you guys go check that one out. Great story talking about Hans Summer's artist pastime and growing up and getting involved in League. We'll expand on that in just a moment. It's Renekton and Talon banned away by the Misfits side. We're seeing Talon showing up in the ban pool just a little more frequently now.
Yeah, a little more. People have had time to work on roaming with that Talon. Punishes teams that don't ward particularly well very hard. We've seen it over in other regions as well. I like this pickup. We're building protection, protect the Kalista all the way around. This has been a meta of days gone past. We're going to throw a lot of shields on. PerkZ now has teamfight presence in the late game. Now, Misfits need to bring something to lock this Kalista in place. Point-and-click crowd control.
Yes! Yes!
If PowerOfEvil wants to play Ryze here, Ryze is a pick that is typically done well into Kalista. Locks are in place, provides a lot of damage, and the ability to get right on top of G2. It's an option for them if they want it.
It is indeed, even though that Rune Prison has had a couple of nerfs in recent patches, but Hansama locks in the Lucian. That should be the first Lucian of the 2017 season here in the European LCS. Some changes to how his dash works, and we'll touch on that in a moment or two. PowerOfEvil not going to go for the Rune Prison route. They're going to go for the flanking blow you up route, and it is going to be the Ahri.
If G2 lock this, which is a fine matchup into Nautilus, they are putting everything on Zven's shoulders for the first 40 minutes of this game until PerkZ, if they need him to take over. This is a playstyle that we've seen Zven and Mithy play so often. From Challenger qualifiers up to LCS, all the way through 2015 when they were playing on Origin and the beginning of the split. Very comfortable for Zven and Mithy. How will Trick, PerkZ, and Expect deal with such a Zven-focused everything on the AD carry comp? You have to think this has been well practiced coming into this matchup.
You have to think so. When you have Zven and Mithy on your team, somehow I feel like in their scrims, at some point they've gone, let's play around Zven. What do you think, boys? That's definitely something that's worked out. But now, the pressure on Misfits. They've got a point-and-click CC from the Nautilus. They've got a lot of damage from Graves, from Ahri, and a hella mobile ADC in Lucian.
Yeah, of course, that depth charge factor that we hadn't quite taken into account earlier on in the draft when we were talking about Ryze does do the same job. So that Ahri, now you can land the charm on top of it, keeps Zven in place for a little bit longer. Misfits looking for, you know, an amount of early game presence from this Ahri, from this Lucian, now on the bottom half of the map.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Hansama on Lucian, Zven on Kalista. We just talked about the Hansama drive, and he's going to be playing the first Lucian of the split. And it's the new Lucian. It's the one with the blue suede shoes that can dodge, dip, duck, and dive everything as he gets some items and some levels under his belt. Oh, I can't wait to see this game. I'm so excited. We're just going to stay glued to the bottom lane entirely.
Unfortunately, because you got a Lulu in this lane, it means Lucian and Zyra probably aren't going to kill Kalista or Lulu, which means there's no Ignite. Sadly, I know everybody's waiting for Ignite to come back in that bottom lane. Double exhaust coming out, but PowerOfEvil's carrying an Ignite for later on. We'll see whether Misfits can come back with a better start to this game. It was a slow-paced, low-kill, more objective trading-focused game in Game 1. And we are heading on to the Rift.
We absolutely are. G2 eSports 1-0 up over Misfits. Let's jump into game number 2 and find out if Misfits can bounce back against Europe's #1 team. Oh, man. Okay, so let's take a look at this bottom lane. I did say I want to focus on it in the early stages. I had a really good chat to KaKAO about Kalista and some of the changes. Biggest one in terms of 7.5, the fact that those rend stacks continue to apply even when your E is on cooldown.
Yes.
And KaKAO was talking about how it really impacts your trading pattern and the windows of opportunity in game. So let's see how Zven and Mithy play around Hansama and IgNar. And Lucian, of course, also had a number of changes, especially when it comes to getting the cooldown back on that Relentless Pursuit on his E, allowing him to just dash around. How much smoother it is, costing your Q as well.
Not only smoother, how annoying it is. You want to watch Lucian rock up to you, pop the culling, and then hit you with about 12 auto attacks in the space of 3 seconds. That right there is going to be what Hansama will show us. He played so much Lucian in Challenger. Every single time he got his hands on it, it was like Lucian or Draven. Early trades come out in the beginning of this game. Hansama, very proficient on this marksman. I'm looking forward to this bot lane matchup.
All right, let's take a look. 1 point into the rend already for Zven. Mithy on Lulu, starting to move forward. Use those autos to shove the wave as much as possible. Well, there's some decent seed placement here from IgNar. Gonna throw down those spines and try to get damage down, but current wave control feels in favor of Kalista. Lulu, G2 eSports.
Well, Hansama does try and put some damage down on Mithy as they're trying to deal with that last minion. This isn't a bot lane stream, don't worry. Top lane stream's got you covered if you want to watch Nautilus versus Maokai. Sorry.
Yeah.
We were joking with Deficio earlier on about tank matchups. Turns out the H2K series had the fun matchups in the top lane, but
Luck
Alphari,
of the draw. Luck
yep.
of the draw. Let's take a look at the draw down bottom. Hansama, the artist, he takes a lot of damage. Thunderlords rained a couple of shots. And Hansama, he's going to burn through those cookies.
Yeah, and Hansama under the pressure early on. You can see we'll have that sustain advantage, at least from the health potions. Mithy will be able to shield out Zven and keep them safe, but this young player, I mean, to put it in perspective, he was just eligible when Misfits entered the LCS. When Mithy qualified for Worlds in 2013, Hansama was 13. And had already been playing the game for 2 years. So this is a guy that has grown up playing, and now that he's 17 is in the LCS. We'll see how much experience can play into such a veteran lineup for G2.
And you've got this rookie in Hansama coming up against Zven, who really just exploded onto the scene. It feels like, what, it's about 2 years ago now, I feel? And Zven consistently been one of the best ADCs. Take our attention to the mid lane really quickly as Trick is making his way to back up PerkZ. And PerkZ has got some control early on. That command attack and dissonance making PowerOfEvil's life just a little difficult trying to deal with that minion wave.
Yeah, making it tough. But look how PerkZ is trying to just land anything he can now on PowerOfEvil in that middle lane. Has already used both potions. Well, each have used both of their potions. So now as PerkZ shoves it back out, G2 looking to reaffirm control, but it's all from pushing lanes on the Misfit side of things. You can see PowerOfEvil is on the recall first. Alphari shoved out the top side into that Maokai as well. Now Hansama and IgNar looking to do the same down in the bottom lane.
Taking a look at the trading pattern so far, it's Mithy and Zven. They're up about a minion wave worth of CS. Hans and IgNar will be able to close that gap ever so slightly. And I'm taking a look at the skill points here. Help picks for Mithy. What he's focusing on in terms of scaling. Zven, very obviously on the end, is expecting Alphari continue to trade. This is the Alphari that I'm used to seeing. Trading aggressively, pulling expect in, and trying to get advantages.
It's a lot of the matchup focus here in this top lane that allows him to do this. Alphari is typically a player that loves to trade in lane, loves to deal as much damage as possible, and Nautilus with that Riptide is able to just push everything back out. If he was on a carry, like a Fiora, he would be in a much happier spot, just trading effectively in lane, trying to dash forward.
Well, playing on the Renekton earlier didn't do the best.
That's true.
Zven and Trick, they've got some support in the bottom lane. Well, Trick is supporting Zven and Mithy, rather, is what I wanted to try to say. The Sentinel not going to spot anyone out, and it doesn't look like Hansama and IgNar. Oh, how far forward will they push? IgNar
knows. Like, he's got to know at this point, just close to that limit where he's over the edge.
Okay.
Trick will back away. KaKAO is going to run into him, though.
All right, let's take a look. Gromp is currently in combat. Trick actually almost misses that shot. Gromp and oh, Trick! He manages to get it, follows through, flash for flash. Now PerkZ is coming. G2, they want first blood. It's PerkZ that locks it down.
Oh, bot lane.
Not done yet. IgNar's in trouble. He gets taken out in a 2v2. Mithy and Zven.
KaKAO overextends into the jungle, ends up on the back end of that, and you didn't need an AWP to lock down that kill. As G2, 2-0 on the game.
Yeah, really nicely done. Picture-in-picture showing G2 CSGO squad in the house, coming to support the boys.
WTF, two shocks in the building?
Too subtle, mate. Oh, nicely done, actually. And here's the replay, of course. KaKAO, he just prepared the Gromp, you know, set it up.
Set it up, Trick walks in, just does one auto.
Donates it.
You know how I was saying KaKAO maybe looking for MVP? Maybe not now. Trick's like setting himself up, is saying, no, I'm keeping this for this split. As G2, it's a good start once again. They've pushed back any early game now from Misfits, and it makes it very difficult for Misfits to get a foothold on this game.
Yeah, exceptional start, plus 1,000 gold already. G2 are going to actually initiate the lane swap already. Zven's got himself a couple of daggers to move up to the top lane. This is going to put pressure on Alphari. And it looks like Alphari's starting to move his way as well. Got access to that depth charge. Combo that with PowerOfEvil on Ahri and no flash on PerkZ. That could be the first kill for Misfits.
It could be. If they can get into this mid lane, if they can look to pressure out PerkZ. However, Shockwave is coming back up. And here's one of the strengths of the Lulu. She facilitates a pushing lane so very well. Kalista on her own pre-Hurricane tends not to do too well pushing the lane. But Lulu alongside Glitterlance goes through. You push it up to the tower. G2, they're looking to try and trade against Misfits here.
Yeah, it's a race. It's a race indeed. Alphari commits the teleport to the bottom lane. Expect has already used his. Take a look at the HP bars. Misfits absolutely gonna pick up tower first blood, despite giving up
mid lane. Hang
kills.
On the minimap, Rengar's having to jump back away. Trick nearly gets taken out at the same time. 3 points of action on the map.
Yeah, we don't have enough picture-in-picture to highlight it all. It's not done yet. There's a dive on the top lane. Maokai's in trouble. Expect you're not going to purr your way away. Ooh. Flashes to safety. Hansama gets a full channel on the culling, and I have to eat my words. Expect with the ultimate survives everything.
Lucian damage early on isn't that significant when you're looking for this Blade of the Ruined King build. You will inevitably end up picking up items to augment it, enhance. Some people have been building Trinity Force, and that's the real spot that Lucian has his massive trading potential. But early on, not quite enough to get that kill. Expect walks away, despite not having that much resistance early on, and G2 still maintain a lead. It's a lot smaller now, though, as Misfits have taken 2 towers.
Yeah, they've got no control in the bottom lane. Both towers down. That's going to allow Misfits a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to playing around the Dragon and around G2's blue buff. But the key to unlocking all of that will be this mid lane tower. If Misfits can somehow push PerkZ and G2 away from that objective. G2 did get the top lane tower, so important to keep note of that and keep track of that. We need to see where the lane assignment goes, because as it stands, PowerOfEvil is monumentally far behind PerkZ as far as CS.
Yeah, and honestly, Ahri into Orianna, I guess. When we're playing with these two champions, probably better to say the full name. It's a difficult matchup to snowball, because Orianna is such a holding lane. You very rarely win on Orianna, but you very rarely lose. So without a charm landing and an all-in from PowerOfEvil where he kills PerkZ, PerkZ will be able to just happily farm up, maintain a CS lead, and deny anything that Misfits want to do. Whereas G2, they're fine if they're a little bit behind, because the sum of their parts is going to obliterate Misfits in a team fight if they can't immediately take out Zven.
All right, so we'll have to follow whether or not Misfits can do that. PowerOfEvil's going to go forward, looking for the charm, connects onto PerkZ. PerkZ manages to walk away with his life. I think that cleanse may have been a touch early. It won't matter right now. Misfits grouped up in the mid lane. They're going to back away. They actually had some support coming as well, as now G2 are scrambling to react. Zven and Trick a little bit extended, but not enough people from Misfits to collapse on them.
I like that Misfits are trying to move out to collapse. IgNar looking for a route here, can't quite get Trick.
All right, Trick's gonna throw down the ulti, has a blast cone as a potential escape route, and definitely a lot of action. Misfits already proactive, more proactive this game.
A lot of chatter from G2 coming out here as well. Oh,
look at that! PerkZ straight up 1v1's PowerOfEvil. Ocelot is in the building, a former Orianna main. I can see him clapping for PerkZ in what was a great solo kill. Really nicely done. G2, 3 kills to 0. They're moving towards potentially Dragon or a tower. I mean, any objective is theirs right now.
A matter of seconds before PowerOfEvil's flash was back available. He could not escape, didn't have his ultimate either. And this is just G2 taking very clinical opportunities around the map here. Whenever there's a tower that's been available to them, the one so far, they've taken it. Now it's a Dragon. 3 kills have been worked very much the same way. And Misfits are struggling not to give over these small advantages.
G2 are just playing too well. They're punishing mistakes individually. Everybody's showing up. Expect survived a 4-on-1 tower dive at like 8 minutes. And now all of a sudden, Expect and Mithy, they're looking to engage. Let's see if Expect can survive again. This time he's got no flash available to him. Wild Growth to buy some time. Why? Why? Just as I say he survives, does he get caught out to die?
Every time.
But it's Hans Summer, man, that picks that one up.
I like this out of Misfits. This is a good response. They see Zven on the side lane pushing the bot tower, and obviously Kalista has no way of regrouping fast enough, so Misfits make a play onto the top side, pick up that top tower, and importantly, give the kill to Hans Sama. Lucian's one big weakness the later you go is his damage against tanks typically falls off, and there's a Maokai in this game, and an Ahri that is not snowballing, so this Maokai is going to be able to build almost full armor for the rest of this game.
I think it's so important that you highlight Ahri not snowballing, because where are the threats to Zven? It's going to be being caught by Nautilus, and then some damage to get to him, right?
Yep.
Short-range Lucian, likely not going to be the guy. Short-range Graves, maybe. You know, you can get the Q down, get the R down. But if there's no Ahri to flank or try to get in behind and get out, maybe Zven is going to be set up for success here. 150 CS, he's got plus 20 over Hans Summer. PerkZ is nearly plus 40. Plus 30 at the moment over PowerOfEvil. It's just great opening to the first 15 minutes for G2.
And if ever, as a player, Zven has been confident, it's when he's got 3 supports around him. He's saying, okay, just put the game on me. I can just carry this. Don't worry. He's always looked confident, whether it was the Juggermore, the Kalista style that we're seeing here. That is when he has really succeeded, because he loves it when the pressure's on.
Yeah. And I think we also have to give some credit to Misfits here. They still have 3 towers secured, right? Top, outer, and both bottom lane. It is still only a 1,000 gold game.
Yeah.
But as we go into mid-game, they are further behind than some of those metrics say. You know, KaKAO slightly behind Trick as well. And let's see what impact they can have. We touched on Hans Summer. He's on this Lucian, first time of the year. On a new patch, new style of play, Blade of the Rune King completed, picked up the Stinger as well.
Yeah, heading towards that Trinity Force that we've seen in solo queue a lot.
Well, let's see what Hans Summer can do with it, you know. He talked a lot in his drive feature about how you can have a bad game, or you can have a drawing as he's an artist that ends up not that great, but you have to push past that. You have to push past the game 1 where Misfits ran around and just outclassed. And they're showing up more. This is a much more competitive game in the early stages, despite G2 still having the advantage.
It is. Misfits are not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. One good team fight in favor of Misfits, whether it's Hans Summer or PowerOfEvil to get the kills from it. You can see Power still does have some potency left. He is not even at 1 item yet, which isn't really the spot that he's going to be happy with, but sat on 1,500 gold right now at the same time. That's likely to just finish off that Morellonomicon when he can. It's a game of Misfits also slowing down the pace despite needing to go faster, right? If they can deny G2 getting strong enough to group, then maybe they can still compete.
Yeah, I think the fact that the game is still close, you know?
Yep.
The opportunities are there, and PowerOfEvil's charm or IgNar landing those grasping roots, maybe a Stranglethorns, you know, some form of CC. Because you know Alphari will make it work. He's got a point-and-click ulti. It's difficult to make that one miss. But then it's the follow-up that matters. Taking a look at some of the damage to champions this game. Not super indicative. Hans Summer and Zven. The game's not really revolved around them all too much. PerkZ, on the other hand, with a solo kill. That's definitely a good sign for somebody who was going to take longer to scale and longer to deal damage than the likes of Kalista for Zven.
And those of you over on the top lane stream will be enjoying the trading of Riptide against Maokai constantly this entire game long. There's a lot of nuance to tank play, though. A lot of people joke about it, and you know, I'm even having a chuckle. There's so much nuance on that decision to teleport when the map play is right. It's not as easy as just click, teleport, and go, and that's where the best players really start making their name. Expect has improved so much as a tank player as well as the carry. He came in and everybody said, oh yeah, he plays a bunch of Irelia. And that was all we knew about Expect, and he's solidified himself into a reliable part of this G2 machine. So he certainly has settled in well over the last year. And part of the thing that allows Alphari and Expect to do good teleports is good vision. Yep. And just like this, vision for G2, potentially coming in behind. I'm looking at the cooldowns. Nobody's jumped in yet. Trick, Thrill of the Hunt is available to him, but G2 don't pull the trigger yet.
As we toggle, we're looking at the vision once again. It's actually PerkZ. PerkZ is in trouble. Charm gets him, and PerkZ goes down. Oh, unfortunate. Little too eager pushing forward, and now Misfits, they're sieging the tower.
Yeah, they're sieging tower. They're going to look to try and push this down. Teleport in response from Expect. It's going to call an end to the push.
Gonna call an end to the push. Have to put Ocelot on screen just as G2 are under pressure, naturally. The boss man. We'll see what sort of pressure that puts on the G2 players, because Misfits, 10 seconds to Dragon. Charm after charm. PowerOfEvil is making them land. Every time he's on screen, he's catching G2 out, despite halfway to being Flame Horizons.
Yeah, he's only thrown out a couple, but they have been landing better. Now it's going to be a Mountain Drake going over to Misfits. First Dragon for them in this game. In the last game, they did get a couple. And considering that against H2K, they secured 0 Dragons and 0 Barons, this is a lot better up against the top team in G2, despite Misfits at times still looking like they're on the losing side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that they've now got their Mountain Drake secured, and the fact that they've set up some proactive plays, this is going to even the game state, I feel. I think there's still some wiggle room here for both squads, and it'll come down to these next few plays. Now, what defined game number 1, the vision from G2 and how they used it, it allowed them to play very safely and not put themselves in any risk. Second to that, G2 played a very cheeky Baron, a sneaky play, blast coned over, and that unlocked the game. G2 are going to use their vision and map presence to take their third tower, but let's see who can get vision control around the next big objective.
Yeah, that really is the name of the game at that point. And for G2, they're playing a composition that doesn't necessarily punish super hard without Misfits making a mistake. If Misfits step too far past the ward, yes, you'll get that TP flank from Expect that Maokai always can bring. But looking at front on engage, it's a Rengar ball combination that starts it, and then Kalista ends the fight, whereas Misfits, they can look for more fights with the Zyra, with the Ahri, with the Nautilus, looking for that setup. So G2 are happy playing a patient game because they're still ahead. Yeah. They are still biding their time until they can group as one big unit and take on a 5v5.
Yeah, I mean, the Death Ball, when you combo them all together, the get out of jail free cards of Maokai and Lulu.
And think about it, last time we've seen like these protect Kalista, protect Kog'Maw compositions, redemption didn't exist. Now redemption exists, and here in Europe we're going to end up with like a, double redemption over each other. Everything save the Kalista, nobody ends up killing him.
Save the Kalista, save the Lucian. Same thing as well on the Misfits side.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
There we go. That's the plan. We need to define who the cheerleaders are and who the players are in this game, right?
As long as we leave it at the end of Season 1.
Okay, I can get with that. G2 eSports now, backing away, and Misfits making their way into the river. I'm looking at the minimap. No deep vision this game. Not to the same scale, I think, as we saw in the previous matchup. A lot of river-based vision from Misfits in the Baron pit. Doing it. Oh, IgNar steals it. My word. I think that was with an E as well.
Mithy got one in the previous game. IgNar gets one in this game.
So, correlation and causation here. Support steals blue buff.
Yeah.
It won the game in number 1. Let's see if it holds true.
Here's that TP flank from Expect. He's heading down for
KaKAO. They're looking for KaKAO. KaKAO's already used collateral damage and flash. There's no blast cone to use. Expect's teleport. That one's going to whiff. Fail ever so slightly. And Trick, big respect there. Maybe fearing the grasping roots of the Stranglethorn. Alphari's going to join the rest of the fight. He's got some support in the jungle. And G2 versus Misfits, 5v5.
Yeah, this Kalista composition is going to just move around as a unit, though, and you can see Trick didn't want to get charmed up there, didn't want to have to, lose half of his health in order to get out.
And there's a window of opportunity here. Zven has Blade of the Rune King and Hurricane completed. Yeah. Hans Summer just sitting on the Phage and the Stinger. He hasn't got his second item, the Triforce, just yet. So, advantage to G2 in a comp as well that is fairly heavily centered around enabling this Kalista.
And this means we're getting to that point. Lucian is starting to get those very, very quick animations that are going to come through from his abilities. I want to see how Hanshammer can maneuver around a fight here. Zven's going to have 4 people protecting him. Hanshammer's basically going to have no one, unless that Nautilus is stuck beside him, that Zyra is beside him. Maybe he'll have enough to keep alive, but We'll see how quickly he can get his way out. You can see throwing out a whole lot of autos. It's easy when the minions don't fight back, but...
Luckily, Hans Sommer has been playing for many, many years. Despite the fact that changes to Lucian really changed the way he feels, you know, the style of play. A lot more weaving as abilities in and out.
It's really interesting when you get such a young player. Sorry to cut you off. I was going to say, because this is where the newer generation of players that come in and, you know, all the way back in Season 3, we were just about learning what an insect was. We were just about seeing these mechanics that came through, maybe a little before that, but these players have had them ingrained. Vision control, teleport priority, pushing lanes, everything like that has been ingrained. So I'm excited to see now when you give them a couple of extra years of experience now, or at least a couple of splits, how Hans Sommer maybe in 2018 as well has settled in. Maybe he's a player that will become
the next Zven.
You know, the next Zven or something like that.
Well, that's what Misfits will be hoping for, because they've already got themselves a really well-rounded team. Still 23 minutes in, the game is still very, very close. Neither G2 nor Misfits any semblance of a lead, both playing around their river very, very heavily. Towers are even, kills basically even. You can argue Mountain Drake for Misfits is more valuable than Cloud. Definitely going to be, as Towers and Barons become the next focus for these teams. But I think crucially, G2 still have their mid-outer turrets, so it allows their jungle to be just ever so slightly safer than Misfits.
And it's mostly G2 that are dictating the pace here. Misfits aren't finding a lot of opportunities. They're looking for them. You can see they're trying to cut this angle around the side. Now, this happened earlier in Zven, and the rest of G2 were punished when Zven showed bot lane. But look, Hans Sommer is up in the top lane. This is very reminiscent of when we used to see Lucian Kalista like a year and a half ago, where you send the AD carry out to side lane, bring him back in all the time. Been a long time since teams have played quite with this play style.
Yeah, it really is. And Catch has only been around for a week and a half.
Yep.
Who's going to be more comfortable? You could argue the more experienced roster.
Rengar comes out.
Thrill of the hunt.
However, Zven's cut off from the rest of his team. They cannot afford to engage yet. They have to regroup, and Misfits back away. They're respecting the grouping potential from G2.
Yeah, the stealth ball delivery system, it is something to respect. PerkZ has a shockwave available, but he's cut off from the team. 4 members of G2, they're waiting on the side. Shockwave catches Hans Sommer. He's able to dash away. PerkZ is down. Look at Hans Sommer. He's ice skating through the river. PowerOfEvil Spur rushes forward. G2, they get the dragon. Misfits get the kills.
G2's focus had been all about the dragon. Misfits, very clean, decisive playmaking here. They're looking for that Baron. They didn't go for mid tower because they will get it from the Baron easily. And Misfits, they got a Blade of the Ruined King Lucian. They have enough damage here to take down this Baron. It's all on Trick to steal, but he's no flash available. If G2 can get it, it's going to have to be an in and out, and that's it.
No flash, no smite. Tricks going in. Battle Roar to go away. Running away. The Scuttle Crab is helping up, blocking off the culling. That's Mithy down. Now Zven and Trick, they've pulled Misfits from the Baron. And will Trick be able to escape? I don't think so. Hans Sommer flashes to safety. They trade 1 for 1. Hans Sommer gets a kill.
G2 will breathe a sigh of relief from being able to maintain this game without Baron going over to Misfits, but it wasn't particularly clean. They lost Mithy, they lost Trick, but overall, mid tower still stands. Misfits didn't get the Baron, and G2 were the ones that picked up the Infernal Drake all the way back at the beginning of that phase of play. It's an interesting trade. I think G2, just from denying the Baron, will be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps the game state even and allows G2 to scale. The Infernal Drake going to be so useful for this Death Ball team composition. The next Dragon being Infernal as well. You have to think G2 want that.
Yeah, the gold has gone in favor of Misfits, though. So it is one of those contentious issues on whether the trade was worth it. One thing we've overlooked is with the return of Kalista comes the return of safe objective control, because that Ren stack is going to outdamage anything KaKAO can bring. KaKAO's going to have to throw the kitchen sink at it to try and steal anything away. But this was split focus out of G2. PerkZ caught around the side, got a good shockwave off, but died in the process. And then that's one of the shields for Zven, so G2 are just backing away. They don't want to fight without all 5 members available, and that was when Misfits were able to move up towards that Baron off 2 kills. But look at this, IgNar comes around the side, takes the Wrath of Zven. There's the exhaust early on, but it's not enough to just stop that Kalista damage, but Misfits get dragged away. Hansama tries to look for the flashy play here, but Trick dropped the vision. We're right back to the action.
We are indeed. The charm onto PerkZ. He gets caught up and not taken down.
Trick's dead.
Trick, on the other hand, does. Stranglethorns throws him into the air. Only Alphari caught by the shockwave. That was a shocking wave for G2. Simply not enough. 5 members of Misfits now on the outer mid turret. This will fall, but how much more will?
Ball delivery is not available anymore. The ball is not with the shockwave cooldown. Expect.
He's gone in. There's no Maelstrom available. He's instantly dropped. Sven's caught by the hook. He's down. It's a double kill for KaKAO. Fate's Call will buy some time as the tower's helping out. But KaKAO gets the triple and the second tower of the fight.
This game has come alive because Misfits have found back-to-back fights against G2 when G2 were not ready to use their composition. At no point in these fights has Zven really been on the front line in time, and you can tell by looking at the members of G2 right now, they have misplayed both of the last fights, and Misfits have punished them heavily.
Misfits have woken up. Their dozy game 1 has been bounced back.
Oh, look at that shockwave cooldown.
is so low.
Oh,
PerkZ uses the cleanse, trying to get to safety. He'll just get popped down. Baron secured by Misfits. All 5 members alive. 6,000 gold in the lead. And it all started, look at the dredge line from Alphari that catches Zven.
And already takes the front line down. Expect is gone. Zven has nobody to tank for him and no shields around. Mithy didn't have his ultimate available anymore. And it means that G2 could not put this composition together. They have to have Zven almost as a frontline himself. He needs to be in this short range where he's dealing damage. It's tough to make it work, but it's what needs to take place. This is where these compositions have done well in the past.
Yeah, it really does. And KaKAO 4-1-4, that Graves pick, never get a chance to shine in game 1. KaKAO gave up first blood and a Gromp this game with a cheeky invade, a risky invade. And both of these junglers, Trick and KaKAO, they've actually had significantly lower early game impact than we're used to seeing. But now mid to late game, KaKAO has all of a sudden switched it on, got the damage for days, and this is allowing Misfits to siege this top tower.
I love that we count the Gromp in there. Things he gave away. I guess
it was set up, it was wrapped in a nice little bow. So here's a St. Patrick's Day present for you.
Do you give presents on St. Patrick's Day?
No.
Well, I mean, I guess, like,
no, you don't. It's not a tradition. It's not a tradition, unfortunately. It's G2. Now they're on the defensive. Okay, what sort of wave clear do they have? Very short range from Zven on Kalista. Yes, the Orianna, but that's not great. And look at how even this game was. Less than a 2,000 gold advantage for G2 eSports for 25 minutes of the game. And then just 1 or 2 catches from Misfits completely blows the game wide open.
Yeah, good back-to-back team fights have come out. Trick now takes a good amount of damage. Misfits, they've run out of most of their minion waves, so they have to be careful as he's pushing in bot side. Remember, Lucian is quite short range, so stepping up to towers is a tough ask for him if everybody on G2 is still alive.
It is, but Misfits have got 5 seconds till the next Dragon is available. 1 minute 10 until Baron wears out. Not the greatest vision in this right-hand quadrant of the jungle, so if they fall back to the pit, set some wards up, there's not a lot in their inventory, and Shockwave just for Alphari, that's not going to be useful.
Not enough on its own. G2 were trying to catch PowerOfEvil with that. Now, if Misfits back away, they release the pressure of this last 50 seconds of this Baron buff. They know they're slowly but surely getting work done, and as long as they don't step too far forward and get caught, they want to utilize as much of this buff as they can.
All right, where is Expect? There's a teleport available for him. He can root someone down.
There's only one TP ward, though, and it's on the top side. Misfits looking for the fight.
All right, Trick's going to get caught out. He flashes away. Also, Wild Growth. Stranglethorns is thrown down as well. 25 seconds on Baron. G2, they still have towers, but for how much longer?
Well, G2 also have defender's advantage here, so they have the quickest path between their towers. You saw them beat Misfits there, and now with only 15 seconds left, the wave's still shoved up in mid. Misfits retreat back to the Dragon Pit, but ultimately, from what was G2 in a composed game, Misfits have established a position where they can look to close this out, but G2 not without a fight. We'll see whether they can make this Kalista composition work. 2,000 health on the Dragon.
Few seconds on the shockwave, it's going to be available. Trick goes in, secured by Misfits. Expect is on the front line as Trick is starting to retreat. Taunt or the charm, that catches Expect. Redemption, buys some time for Trick. Expect dives into the pit. It's KaKAO the target. Alphari follows shortly thereafter. Traded 1-for-1. Look
Here he goes.
He's going forward. Summoner heal. Sven's got one. That's a shutdown. Gets another. G2 eSports turn it round. They kill Hansama. IgNar's the only man standing.
It's impossible at that point unless everybody focuses down the Kalista for G2 to be stopped. The hopping around the team fight is so unpredictable, and Misfits hesitate around that Dragon. G2 chase them right back out and look to re-establish their lead on this game.
How much can G2 take? 25 seconds before everyone on Misfits is alive. It is still a 4,000 goal deficit, and G2 will at least get an inner turret and set the waves up to push down, but the bases still stand, and make no doubt about it, G2 are still behind in this game. But when you combine them together as a 5-man unit, you can see the strength of their team composition.
And I think G2 will take this as a moment of saying, okay, we are still in this game, we are still behind, but this is what the comp is meant to do. You can see after they throw so much at Expect and Trick in this pit, Hansama tries to come back out and land the damage on Zven. The exhaust is saved for so long on IgNar. It's still only now used, and Hansama has to come back into the fight, but there's too much damage hitting him. PowerOfEvil can't coordinate his damage at the same time because he's forced into Zhonya's, and G2 live to survive another day.
It felt like Alphari had 25 of those Rend Spears stuck in him, and you can see that 5,000 damage dealt. Zven and Hansama, the true carries of this particular game. But G2, they win the fight, they lose the Dragon. Misfits got themselves an Infernal and a Mountain Drake to G2's Infernal and Cloud. The next one is Elder, but it'll be Baron. That's where we'll see our next big team fight. Misfits cannot afford to misplay that one again.
Yeah, they absolutely can't. Zven's even more difficult to kill now. Got that Bloodthirster on top of it. Both AD carries looking for more defensive options the later we go. Phantom Dancer for Hansama. Going to try and reduce as much damage from other sources as he can. Zven's just going to try and stay alive with that Bloodthirster, that shield, the lifesteal, opting for triple lifesteal items, going towards Mercurial Scimitar.
And it's so important as well. The fact that Zven can keep stacking up those Rend spikes.
Yep.
So we can pop it as a fight continues to scale on. Thanks to the patch changes in 7.5, cooldown becomes available, you can burst somebody else out. So like, there's different periods or different cadences of burst damage from Zven on this Rend. Teleport is available for Expect, and I'm seeing a number of pings if G2 want to pull the trigger.
It also means that damage goes up exponentially as that Hurricane stacks up on multiple people. The first Rend probably won't do too much, but then the second, the third that happens if a fight goes that long. Here comes the fight. Trick wants to jump in. They've got Alphari, but he's very tanky.
He is, but G2 are just throwing themselves at it. Redemption comes down, a full channel on the culling. PowerOfEvil goes in from behind, but he doesn't find the kill. Expect still on the front line. Trick is the first one to die. Shockwave
it was
whiffs.
early.
Shockwave whiffs. Mithy's running away for his life. PerkZ may have escaped, and Expect will be the third to die from G2.
And Misfits are going to look for critical damage on the base now. Great flank out of PowerOfEvil off the start of the team fight from Alphari. They lock Zven in place, take away the support, and on his own, Zven is not strong enough to deal that same amount of damage.
It's a 5 versus 2. G2 eSports need to do something magical. They're double rooted.
Zven's
is dead. How can G2 survive and defend their base with only PerkZ? I don't think they can. Misfits, they take down the Nexus turrets. They bounce back after losing game 1, even up the series, and we're going to game 3.
After a 0-2 performance from H2K last week, Misfits come with a rejuvenated game 2, punish G2 for not playing their composition out, and as you said, we're going to game 3. That puts us potentially at match point of G2 dropping that streak. Oh, it's early to say that.
193 days since G2 have lost a series in the European LCS. Of course, the game that we start showing the support staff and the team and some of the other squads from G2 eSports, they go and lose the game. So we'll have to see whether or not the pressure adds on. But I think, look, all credit to Misfits, right? They played proactively. They actually did stuff this game, which I felt maybe they didn't do in game one or didn't have the opportunity to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That flank at the end was beautiful out of Misfits.
It absolutely was. Well played by PowerOfEvil. Things are heating up here in Berlin with Misfits and G2 tied with 1 game.